The Resident Evil mobile games were an interesting bunch that cannot be found on your mobile online store anymore. As technology rises, the old gets replaced, and sometimes we cannot go back to replay the games we once had. Not unless you got a good working emulator. In this video, we will be taking a look at every mobile game based on Resident Evil. So without any delays, let's begin. Resident Evil: The Missions. The Missions was first released in Japan on the start of December of 2003. This game has potential. You play as Jill Valentine in the Raccoon City Police Department, where you go through many challenges in this pyramid diagram that shows you your progression. Depending on the mission you chose, you will end up skipping other missions which provide you with extra replay value if you complete the game. One thing I really liked was that Jill describes every challenge like an obstacle she needs to do because the situation calls for it. In a way, it does connect with your previous choices since you can't go back and replay missions until you've beaten the game. So it works well for the narrative of the game instead of feeling like this mobile game is just a series of challenges. So because of the description of each challenge, it actually feels like this game has a what-if scenario for Jill in Resident Evil 3 during her last visit at the police station. One thing that really impresses me is that there are many items to collect and a good amount of unlockables. It's a mobile game with a size that's less than 1 megabyte, and it includes a good majority of unlockables. You can revisit a good amount of locations in the police station. The character models are quite impressive, especially when you're looking at the size of the game, and most importantly, there are 150 missions to go through. With that said, I really wanted to like this game, but the bugs and controls drove me mad with frustration. Some of the challenges were great concepts, such as escorting a civilian out of the police station, but one of the worst challenges I had to deal with was trying to eliminate 2 hunters in a crammed hallway while injured without healing items, and the challenge starts with both hunters literally right next to you. Not only was that a terrible challenge, but it also made the storytelling aspect confusing. Also, one of the most annoying things about the enemies in the game is that if you step into a position where the camera angle changes, the enemy will not appear from the edge of the screen side where it was. Instead, it will teleport in the middle of the screen, which adds fuel to another issue with the game: the hit detection. It only works if the red target icon is shown. Otherwise, every shot will miss, even if you were aiming directly at them. If it weren't for those problems, I think I could really enjoy replaying this game countless of times. It's good to look at, but it's not fun to play. So I'm sure you'll enjoy watching the Let's Play I'm releasing on this game, as well as the other mobile games on this list that I currently have. One final thing to mention about this game is that I guess there's an enhanced 3D version of the title, but that's not exactly helping out the rest of the game now, is it? Resident Evil: Confidential Report. Confidential Report is a 4-part spin-off series that takes place before the Raccoon City outbreak. It was released a month later after Resident Evil: The Missions was released, and this game series is a turn-based strategy game that uses a grid system-based combat, almost like an RPG game. There are 2 characters you can choose from: Tyler Hamilton and Naomi McClain. Tyler Hamilton is a rookie cop that's been assigned to guard the Umbrella storage facility in Raccoon City. I know they didn't need to make Tyler Hamilton be a rookie cop since Leon is the rookie cop that ended up in the middle of the incident. This just makes Tyler seem like a ripoff of Leon. Confidential Report has a good spin-off story for both characters, so it's probably best to ignore the rookie cop aspect and just go with the rest of the story it presents in all 4 parts. In this game's story, as Tyler Hamilton gets assigned to guard the facility, an explosion from underground rocks the foundations and Tyler is knocked out and trapped inside the facility. After waking up, he runs into many zombies and must find a way out. Meanwhile, the other character known as Naomi McClain happens to be an FBI agent that was sent to Raccoon City to investigate the experiments of that Umbrella storage facility and retrieve evidence from secret FBI informants that were working within Umbrella's ranks. As you can see, the story does get interesting for both characters, and there's a lot more to say that goes on, but we'll explore all 4 parts in a video let's play or videos depending on how long it takes to complete them. For now, I can honestly say that this game is enjoyable, and all 4 parts are worth trying out. Sure, the gameplay seems slow and the action is boring, but it gives us some of the main elements that we look forward to in a Resident Evil game. exploring areas, reading notes, searching for items and ammunition, letting us choose between two characters. It's got good horror music. Can't complain when we've played through the Resident Evil action-packed mobile games and seen how those turned out, especially with a touchscreen control. Resident Evil Genesis. This game was released in March of 2008, and it's probably the best of the bunch because it's the closest to giving you that classic Resident Evil gameplay, or the experience at least. It may not include fixed camera angles, but seeing as the mansion in this game is completely different, they would have had to come up with newer pre-rendered backgrounds, and I'm not sure if that's a lot harder to work with compared to this gameplay style that we got. But for a cell phone game, I do prefer that it tries something new, which it did, and it's not bad at all. They included some tracks of the original soundtrack. Sadly, they don't loop when they're over. You only play as Jill Valentine, but that's okay. She's always my favorite character to choose. There's a lot to explore, and even IGN gave the game a 7.8 out of 10. This game was definitely worth buying when it came out, and I'm glad I got to try it out once again. Resident Evil Mercenaries Versus. This game is like you'd expect from its title. It's a simple mercenary mode which was made as a multiplayer game for the iOS. It was released on April of 2011, and here you get to choose from Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and Albert Wesker in their Resident Evil 5 appearances. You have 3 stages to choose from: the dock, fort, and castle, which are locations from RE4, including its enemies. So in a way, this is a mix between Resident Evil 4 and 5 with the mercenary mode. Not bad, especially seeing as it includes 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2 online modes. I haven't been able to play this iOS game and only observed the gameplay footage online, so I'm not sure if the gameplay was smooth with or without playing online. But it must have been a fun experience to play that mercenary mode on your phone anywhere outside where there's signal. Resident Evil 4. RE4, the mobile edition, was released on February of 2008, and just like Mercenaries Versus, I wasn't able to try this game out, but from looking at gameplay footage, it appears to be Resident Evil 4 with a toned down quality in its gameplay and graphics. Mobile games at the time were still growing in memory space and their performance, so even though it might appear as a downgrade, it was by all means interesting at the time. I wish I was able to play this game and see how far it takes me. I don't know if they actually included every scenario from the full game, but if you've played the mobile version, let us know the pros and cons of the game in your opinion. Resident Evil Degeneration. This game was based on the movie with the same title, but an interesting thing about the game is that there are a few different versions of it. It was released for the N-Gage 2.0 system, certain mobile phones, and the iPhone sometime in 2008, as the movie had come out around October of 2008. One version uses the same 3D engine that was used for the mobile version of Resident Evil 4, so if you enjoyed playing the game with the over-the-shoulder gameplay, then you will get some satisfaction from this game. Then there's a first-person shooter version, which is very weak and reminds me of the crappy 3D Flash games. You just aim straight, left or right, and shoot. Then repeat the process until you've beaten every level. Now, there is one more version that was based on Resident Evil Degeneration. Since the 3D version was only capable of being used on later mobile phones, they actually made a separate version for the earlier mobile phones, which used fixed camera angles. Here's a picture of the phones capable of playing each version. Unfortunately, I couldn't get both phones to work, and I did buy both Resident Evil Degeneration versions for each phone, and even though I was able to replay most of the RE mobile games, I wasn't able to find the one with the 3D engine. Only the first person and fixed camera angle versions. So to describe the 3D engine version from what I remember, it wasn't smooth when it came to moving around. It was impressive to play an RE game with that engine and these graphics for a mobile game at the time. They did include extra replay values such as a mercenary mode, and you even get to take on a tyrant in the airport. It was a neat surprise, but you don't get to take on that G-infected antagonist of the movie because the game ends after the airport mission is over. So it's an average game. I do remember enjoying it even with its flaws, but maybe that's just because it was impressive to see that type of gameplay on such a tiny phone. The first person view version is a bit of a mixed bag. And by mixed bag, I mean it's got some dry turds for enemies, clam chowder for music, and some boring ass gameplay. If you play this game for about an hour, it will make you feel as if you've been smelling zombie breath the entire time. It has plenty of missions and some unlockable items and weapons, but for some reason you can't choose which weapon you want to go with, only which item you want to take. Zombies and enemies don't need to be at reaching distance to inflict pain. They just have a meter bar that fills up, and if it does, then they attack you by air humping you to death, or barking rather than biting, and breakdancing for the tyrant. Now, the fixed camera angle version is literally a copy and paste of Resident Evil The Missions. This is a version Capcom should be ashamed of for releasing and charging us for. Well, to be fair, they should be ashamed for lots of these mobile games, but to blatantly copy and paste the game and just slap different pre-rendered backgrounds and different character models is just pathetic. They pulled a Fallout 76 before Fallout 76. What a shame. Resident Evil Assault the Nightmare. Assault the Nightmare released in Japan sometime in 2002, and it was sold as part of a subscription to Capcom Party at 350 yen per month. It would later be released outside of Japan. Now in the game's story, it takes place at an isolated mansion on the hills, which is usually referred to as a castle depending on the version of the game. You take control of a police officer who was sent in to investigate after the local police precinct received an emergency call from there. It is unknown whether the character you play as happens to be Chris Redfield, and the enemies and location of that castle or mansion are never mentioned anywhere outside this game, so it's most likely another what-if scenario game like most mobile games on this list. The gameplay is a first-person shooter, and you only face off against zombies and crows. The final boss turns out to be a licker, and after completing the game, I can honestly say, Resident Evil Zombie Buster. This is a game that really caught me off guard. Its simple gameplay lets you know that it's going to be a very fun experience, seeing as you only move left and right and have to shoot straight ahead, rapidly tapping the action button. At first, it felt like a really boring game that wasn't going to give me a challenge, and suddenly the difficulty shifts right away, having the enemies move faster towards you and even taking more damage than before. There's a boss fight against Jan the Snake from the first Resident Evil game, but you're playing as Leon and Claire, so it's a little confusing as to what scenario or location these levels take place in. Not that it matters, since it's just a simple mobile game. It's just confusing. The only thing that really became the downfall for me playing this game are the controls. They shouldn't be a problem since you only move left, right, and shoot, but when you use a touchscreen to perform these actions, it doesn't work well. When you're playing a game using a controller that has buttons, your fingers can get used to the patterns of each button and space between them. But with a touchscreen, your fingers can't identify the space between each spot that counts as a button. Sometimes you'll have two fingers touching the screen which interfere with its sensory detection. That leaves you with your character standing still, which leads to taking damage by an oncoming enemy attack or even a game over like with this game. That's right. If one enemy reaches you, it's straight up game over. The level with the crows is the most annoying of them all. Some crows come charging at you a lot faster than the rest, and when you have to try and move fast to the left and right, you'll inevitably have two fingers touching the touchscreen, which again will make you stand still and have a crow reach your side, which is game over once again. Another boss you fight in the game is a tyrant, but they just used a zombie sprite instead of making one look like a tyrant. I don't know why they didn't bother with its appearance being accurate, but the second time you fight it, that's an even more frustrating challenge than the crow's level, because it moves around all over the place while it's moving towards you. When I played this game on the actual mobile phone, I don't recall ever having a hard time beating this game. In fact, I barely remember it, as if it never bothered me nor entertained me. But when you have a touch screen for the controller to this game, oh, you'll remember this game. It will annoy the hell out of you. For some reason, Japan decided to remake this game 5 years later, so in 2011 it was brought back with slightly better graphics. I couldn't find a copy of this game, so all I got are screenshots, and it doesn't really seem to add anything new really. Just the better graphics, and that's it. So Resident Evil Zombie Busters is a simple shooter which is frustrating if you use a touchscreen for its controls, but yet still forgettable if that weren't a problem. There are two Resident Evil games that were only released in Japan, and once again I couldn't get a hold of either version, so this is the only information I can provide about Biohazard Outbreak Survival and Biohazard Clan Master. Biohazard Outbreak Survival was released around 2011 for a Gree social networking service, and it was a free-to-play game with purchasable upgrades like a common mobile game nowadays. Its server was closed down on May 29th of 2015. It's not as appealing as I thought it would be, seeing as it uses the Outbreak subtitle. But it's an app game, so what can you really expect from it when the early stages of free games would make it nearly impossible to progress after the first 3 to 5 levels, and the only way to beat the next level is by using real money to purchase certain upgrades. Biohazard Clan Master is an online social game that uses RPG card battles with tons of character cards to choose from. The online service began on October 9th of 2012, and it was terminated on June 30th of 2015, and it would be replaced by a new game called Mina to Biohazard Team Survive. Since I haven't played either game, I can't describe whether they're entertaining and addicting games, but by the looks of a few cards here, it looks like they were going with something similar to Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. I might be wrong, but if it's something similar to it, then Japan is quite lucky to have such an interesting app game. Well, maybe it's a good thing that we don't have it, because app games have you grinding for days on character cards that will eventually be outshined by the new set of cards that will drop by the next month. It's that way with Dokkan Battle, and even though I enjoy that game, I just lost interest in the game because its grinding repetition just got boring eventually. Resident Evil Uprising. Uprising is a sequel to Resident Evil Genesis. It was released in 2009, and just like with RE Genesis, it's a reimagining of the game it's based on, and Uprising is based on Resident Evil 2. Like with RE Genesis, this game does not disappoint. It has the same gameplay elements, and I enjoyed it back when it first came out, and I enjoyed it again recently. There's a lot to say about this game, but I'll leave most of the reveals on the Let's Play video I'll be making for this game. So those were the Resident Evil mobile games. Do you think some of them are worth trying? Or is it a good thing that they became long-lost forgotten mobile games? I for one did enjoy some of them, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna have to do a Let's Play on most of them. At least for the ones that have a story to tell. The ones that are just a bunch of challenges get me frustrated as hell because of the touchscreen controls, but if you still want to see a Let's Play on even those ones, be sure to let me know in the comments, if you want to make me suffer. Quick announcement, everyone. Recently, YouTube's algorithm has been updated to only bring traffic to channels that are constantly uploading daily, which means that only the mediocre corporate channels such as Watch Mojo, pointless vloggers, and those who have already made a huge following will be safe from this corrupt website. Channels with hardworking creators such as this one that are struggling to make ends meet will be ignored, and the only content on YouTube will be nothing but trash content, except for the lucky few who have already got a large following. YouTube has not only made it harder for subscribers to be notified when their favorite creator recently uploaded a new video, but now even viewer engagement is becoming another issue. The algorithm detects certain words from comments and will automatically put them on the spam folder, and if I approve the comments on the spam folder, YouTube will think that I'm trying to go against its rules and regulations and punish me for giving you freedom of speech. Heck, they're still talking about removing the dislike button just because they don't like harsh criticism every time they screw up. Big companies hate when the people speak up and criticize their work or product, so they'll try to shut you up even on my YouTube channel. Here is why I want you all to join my Patreon. See, on my Patreon, it's more than just extra content without censorship. It's our domain. Sooner or later, this channel will be taken down simply because I'm against their censorship, and when that happens, I'd like to know that my Patreon has everything from my channel, including extra content, and a hell of a lot more. Just by donating a single dollar, you will get instant access to all my content, including never-before-seen videos that could not be featured on my YouTube page. You will also get to see newer videos 1 week earlier than when they're posted on my YouTube page. You get access to my Patreon-only feed, you get to see your name on the outro of every new video, and you can even send fan art that'll be next to your name on the outro of new videos. Yeah, all this for only donating $1. Most channels would prefer putting these reward tiers as their $5 or even $10 to $20 donation rewards. But I want everyone who supports the channel to get all these rewards, even if you're only donating the smallest amount, because this is how much of a difference you are making when you're supporting my channel. Your donation means so much, and you deserve so much for your contribution. For the bigger donations, such as the $5 tier rewards, you'll get everything from the $1 tier rewards, as well as commentary videos on my work, like describing how I put together the Birkin vs Nemesis fights, and you can also get featured in a new video by taking a short video clip of yourself telling me which video is your favorite and what future videos you're looking forward to. Then for the $10 tier rewards, you get everything from the $1 to $5 tier rewards, and you get to choose what video you'd like to see next. Also, if you have a PS4 or a Switch, let me know your gamer tag and we can join teams on whatever games we both have. If you have any questions, just send me a message on my Patreon and you'll immediately get a response from me. So with that said, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. But most importantly, be sure to turn on notifications because YouTube won't bother to do its job even if you're subscribed. If you're a Patreon supporter, check out the exclusive videos on my Patreon. Go support the channel, which is only $1. Sacrifice that McChicken for extra quality content, my friend. But anyways, I'll see you all in the next video, and remember to have an awesome day.